It's a photograph, photoshopped and altered and stuff. But it's a photograph, and the book is set in 1870 or 1878, down in Arizona, New Mexico territory in Mexico. A lot of desert in it. I got the idea originally. This was never going to be a trilogy. This was going to be a standalone book. And I was down in New Mexico on holiday a few years back, February, traveling around. I love the desert. And when I was down there, I was reading a book by a guy called Cormac McCarthy called Blood Meridian, which is set in the 1860s down there. I love Cormac McCarthy's books, and I love the desert. And I thought, I have to write a book like this, you know. And while I was traveling around there, there's a lot of Billy the Kid stuff down there. Every museum you go into in New Mexico has Billy the Kid's gun. You know, the guy must have had a whole wagon behind him with guns in it, owned all these guns. But there's lots of cool stuff down there too. And I thought, well, I've got to have Billy the Kid in the story. There's got to be a desert story. I've got to have Billy the Kid. At that same time, Victorio, who was one of the Apache leaders, broke out and had one of these small wars that they had down there. Was a brilliant military guy and ran circles around the American cavalry until eventually he was cornered in Mexico. But I got to put that in, I thought. So I was going to write this book about this Canadian boy who goes down there and all these things happen to him, and he meets Billy the Kid and the Apache Wars and all the rest of it. And I started writing the book, and the book became a book about stories, as well as just being a story. The landscape is a character in the book. That's written in blood. The landscape is written in blood. There's the story of the Canadian boy, why he goes down there. There's the story of he's looking for his father, trying to find his father. There's the story of what happened to his father. There's the story that he gets from the people that he meets. An old Apache warrior, old Mexican guy. They tell him stories. They become part of his story. So the book is about stories as well as being a story itself. And when I finished the book, when he discovered what happened to his father, I hadn't even mentioned Billy the Kid or Victoria. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to write another book. And a third one. And the second one is called Ghost Moon. And it's just come out, hot off the press. And it's a good cover too. But this is an even better cover, because I took this photograph. So I made the cover for the book. And people say, oh, well, yeah, it's nice. Do you Photoshop the moon in? No, I didn't. It was taken at White Sands National Monument in New Mexico at sunset. And this huge moon, a ghost moon, a moon that looks like you can see through it, because it's still daylight, rose up above the hills. And I took a bunch of photographs, and the desert's white down there. It's not your regular sand, white sand. It's quite dramatic. But at sunset and at sunrise, the desert, because it's white, it has no color of its own, it takes on the color of the sunset. And this color is basically what that desert was like. We changed it. This was a more orange color. So the color has been altered a little bit to make it a bit more dramatic. But essentially that's what it looked like. The only thing that's been changed is the guy on the horse. You don't meet many guys on horses in New Mexico these days. So they photoshopped in the silhouette of a guy on a horse. But other than that, the photograph basically as I took it, which is so cool. It's my first cover. Anyhow, so those books are set. The third one is coming out next spring, called Victorio's War. And there may be another one. I'm not sure yet. But certainly there's going to be a three. Yeah.
How long does it usually take you to write a book?
How long does it usually take me to write a book? That's a tougher question to answer than it seems. I rarely these days get time to sit down and start a book and keep working on it until I'm finished, because I'm coming on tour, or I have 2 or 3 books going at the same time. Like I have 3 books coming out next year. They're all at different stages of editing, writing, stuff like that. So a publisher will send it back, and then I have to rework it because of the editing or whatever. Right? So then I have to take time off. If I get a chance, and it happens sometimes, if I get a chance to sit down and write a book, I can write one of these books in 6 to 8 weeks. which is quick compared to a lot of writers. It's quick because, for two reasons. One, I find writing easy. Some people agonize over it a lot more than I do.